stuck.
Okay, so Jay, you're from Vancouver, but you traveled across to Montreal, and then you did your master's at University of Washington State.
Yeah.
Now tell us about this cohort and what happened there, because it's kind of an unusual story.
Yeah, so I feel like that's a lot to say about art schools. There's an 18-person cohort. I think there was about a quarter of the people were queer, and I was the third person to come out as trans in our two-year program. And so we had a group chat with the 18 of us, just a big text message chain. And so by the time I was the third one to come out, so by the time I did, I just texted the group chat and said, "Hey guys, pretty sure I'm trans. I'm gonna change my name. Can I do like a test run with you guys? I'll change my name with you. If it feels good, I'll make it public." And they all said, "Yeah, Jay, sounds great. See you around the studio." And then after a month of just my studio mates, my cohort calling me Jay, was feeling really good about that and thought, okay, amazing. I'm gonna make that public. Thanks guys for the dry run. And someone in my cohort was the one who explained to me about testosterone and how to talk to doctors and all that stuff. And having someone to talk to who had gone through it like 6 months before me was amazing. And I didn't know any other trans people at the time. I mean, I knew trans people back in Montreal, but I was no longer there, and I was trying to build community in places.
Every person who's trans has to sort of navigate this. Mm-hmm. How did family deal with this?
Great question. So when I came out to my family, I was super nervous. So for context, I was a tomboy for my entire childhood. Apparently people thought I was trans when I was a kid. I just didn't know. And so when I came out to my parents, my sisters already knew. They're super supportive. And both my parents said, yeah, we know. We don't really understand it,
you were
but
the last person to figure it
out.
out.
Yeah, seriously. And so it was still, the physical changes were really hard for them, and the terminology is sort of they still struggle with, but they know and they understand it because I've looked like a boy for my entire life, basically. I had like a short phase when I was a teenager where I was like, I'm gonna try on femininity, and that clearly wasn't working. And so when I finally came out, they're accepting, and every time I tell them how like I really would like it if they use my new name, and they apologize, and I cried with my parents multiple times at this point where they say to me, "We're trying really hard. It's hard for us to change names and pronouns because we've had 33 years of practice with the other one, but just know if we misname you that we don't mean you any like ill will. We're trying our best. Like, we love you, we support you, we are trying. It'll just take us time."
It takes a while.
It does take a while. Like, it's 33 years of one name, and so it was scary, but it was good. They're very supportive, and I'm very grateful of that because I'm living in Vancouver again, and so I'm around my family for the first time in 13 years, a lot. So
coming back to them after 13 years, they must be, if you're with someone all the time and they see a gradual change, that's one experience. To be away for 13 years and then bang.
Well, and I think that's why it was such a shock to them, because I had come out as non-binary in 2018, but I didn't tell them because I didn't want to have to explain gender to them, because it just felt like too much to explain to them as non-binary when trans and me actually transitioning felt like making a physical change and making more changes that they could see, whereas me just saying I'm non-binary, I felt non-binary for a long time. I am non-binary, but I'm trans non-binary. But it felt easier to explain it to them when it was a more, like, something they could more easily grasp onto.
Right.
Like, I've kind of had to tell them.
It's got to be tangible.
Yeah, like it wasn't tangible before, and so just telling them, please use they, them pronouns with me, it felt like something that they would struggle with more. But now, they still struggle with the non-binary, so I've kind of had to tell them, please just think of me as a boy who uses they, them pronouns, because I need you to stop seeing me as a girl. That's the main thing. I'm not a girl. I'm more a boy than a girl.
Look, in your art, you're clearly expressing a total affinity with trans lifestyle. Mm. Do you ever get offended if someone's not quite right with the pronouns?
No,
right.
no, because it's people trying.
Yeah.
And I assume they're trying. If they're being purposefully, then that's a different story.
Yeah.
But because I have this thing with my whole family now where I'm, I've explained to them many times the pronoun thing, the trans thing, and they're trying, but it is a shift of language. And I have to remind myself that my whole community has been trans, non-binary, queer for a long time, and I'm very used to the language.
Right.
And to them, I am their only access to that community. Therefore, their exposure to it is far less. And so I have a lot of patience for them because they're trying and they're not surrounded by it like I am.
I think
And
it's
especially when
very
I wasn't
hard for
living in
parents,
Vancouver. It's,
because,
yeah.
I mean, in so many instances, I've got used to raising this lovely little person, and suddenly everything's different.
Yeah.
We could talk about that forever. But in terms of the art, I mean, you've obviously developed in a very, very mature way as an artist. How long have you been focusing on the particular trans sort of presentation? Because everything you've got here, no one could look at this and think it's anything but created by someone who's trans.
Yeah.
So how long has that been?
That's a great question. So I came out as trans in 2022. I came out as queer in 2016, maybe. It was a long time of like kind of questioning it. But I've been sculpting about trans bodies for some reason because I was interested in it, but I didn't know why since 2018, 2017.
Okay,
and so it took a while. So that's why it's a funny question.
Maybe there's a subconscious
Oh
thing.
my God, the subconscious was so loud, and I just was like trying to not think about it for a long time. And
it's not a choice, is it?
yeah, it was something I didn't fully understand. And so I joke that therapy would have been faster. Instead, I sculpted about it all for 10 years.
Sculpted your way out.
Yeah, exactly. So this is it. I sculpted a bunch of my trans friends in Montreal for some reason. I took a transgender studies class in university before I knew I was
You
trans.
weren't sort of committed.
Well, like I was okay. So it's non-binary. So lots of people consider non-binary trans.
Absolutely.
It is definitely trans. But I didn't know as I was interested in physically taking hormones and actually transitioning. But then as soon as I took the class and I sort of heard other people talk about the experience and learn more about it, then I realized, oh my God, this is all of my experiences. Like the euphoria I get when people would think I was a boy, which was often. Like every time I got kicked out of a girl's bathroom in my childhood and as an adult, that felt good. I was a bit frustrated about it, but
Have
I
you
was
thought
like...
about running for Congress? I think Nancy something, some American congresswoman is causing a lot of trouble.
Oh,
I mean, in Canada, we figure out the bathroom thing by the time you're in grade 4, right?
Oh my God, yeah, it's pretty simple. Like everyone needs to go.
But
Come on.
looking at the art and focusing on the art, so clearly affirming transness and also normalizing it. Simply.
Yeah.
When this becomes mainstream, which is not far away, I think.
I'd hope.
That's where we need to be.
I had a really great moment with my cousins who came to the opening. So my cousins are all in their 30s, 40s. They have kids, I think around 6 to 8 years old, with the 3 kids running around. And my cousins told me that it was a really amazing opportunity for them to share with the kids what trans bodies look like, because they explained to them what transgender is, but they don't have any like images. Kids need a bit more than just like explaining stuff.
A lot of the visuals and the references are not necessarily the ones that really need to be presented. They're excessively erotic or fetishistic.
Yeah, and making them visible in a non-erotic way. And yes, all of these sculptures have animal heads. So like, of course, this isn't completely this is not what trans bodies look like. But the body parts, and showing like, look at all of the different body parts. Yeah. That
you haven't just chosen a size 2 straight off.
Yeah, and like all the different kinds of shapes and sizes of bodies, and that was a big part of choosing the people that I did, was the representation of diversity in bodies and ethnicity and experiences in like all different kinds of trans. And so for these 6 and 7-year-olds to get to see these things and then have their parents explain to them, like, these are trans bodies, like look at all these different body parts, and this is
and there's nothing practical about this in any way.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I know that people on FionaDobson.com are going to be very interested in where they can find a bit more information. What's your website?
My website is jscreatures.com, and my name is Jai Sallay-Carrington, Jai. If you look up my name, then you can find me online, and or my website, and my Instagram is the same thing as the website, JS Creatures.
I'll put a load of links in the connections to this. But thanks ever so much, and thank you so much for such a great exhibition.
And to end it off, I'm doing this exhibition again in Victoria in 2025 in December, and I'm going to be doing another call for submissions. And so
December 2025.
yes, so in a year
Excellent.
from now.
Yeah.
And so if you want to get sculpted, I obviously can't sculpt everybody, but I'm still taking submissions. It's an ongoing thing. I want to keep growing this project because every time I show it, I can include more images of the sculptures not in this show, more images, and it just shows how many different kinds of trans experiences there are.
Right.
And so
And
yes.
so what would happen was someone would contact you, tell you a little bit about them, give a bit of a bio, and maybe a couple of photographs, and then you would reach back if it was something which was...
I have a submission form on my website that has a couple of questions and then the kinds of photos to send.
Okay, Jay, I will link that. Thank you ever so much.
Thanks. Thank
This
you.
has been Jules Sanderson for FionaDobson.com, and if you've got any questions, feel free to contact us through the website.